Hello everyone, it is your boy Oski from Veggiecoin, and I just wanted to make a video today on something that's kind of been bothering me for a little while ever since I entered this startup cryptocurrency space, and that is Ethereum smart contracts. Now, you're probably aware that a lot of new startups have emerged in the cryptocurrency space over the last 2 years, and pretty much over the last year is where it's really blown up into something completely massive. And most of these startups are raising their funds and creating applications using something called Ethereum smart contracts. Now, what an Ethereum smart contract is a way that you can use the Ethereum blockchain to validate a contract between two or more parties, and you no longer need to rely on a authoritative figure to do the right thing by both parties. Everything is completely cryptographically verified on the blockchain, and there's no way that a body in a position of power can act maliciously in their own interests, because the blockchain doesn't have its own interests. It can't be bribed, it can't be blackmailed. It's completely what's called trustless. Now, Ethereum is kind of the staple smart contract platform. There are a few others like Cardano and NEM, but Ethereum seems to be kind of the main one that people use. Now, there are some limitations with Ethereum, and that's where the problem comes in with all these new cryptocurrency startups using it. So there's two main issues that come with using smart contracts to build your applications. The first one is scalability. And the second one is cost. Okay, so if you're going to create an application that uses blockchain and you're going to use the Ethereum blockchain, every time you interact with the Ethereum blockchain, or every time one of your consumers interacts with your application and interacts with the Ethereum blockchain, you're going to have to pay the Ethereum blockchain to do whatever work you need it to do. So if that's transfer funds between two people, it doesn't really matter what it is. Every time it uses the Ethereum blockchain, it's going to cost something called gas, which is a small amount of Ethereum. So a lot of these startups are using the Ethereum blockchain to host their entire application, and these gas prices are just going to be absolutely massive. Whereas on the other hand, they could create their own blockchain and put their blockchain application on top of that, and they would have complete control over what these charges would be whenever someone would use their blockchain application. They're really completely at the mercy of whatever the Ethereum blockchain is doing at that moment. So for example, if everyone starts using the Ethereum blockchain for everything and it slows down, a lot of these applications are going to have to slow down too. And there's really nothing that the developers can do about that. They're completely at the mercy of whatever the Ethereum blockchain wants to do. So if your application interacts with the Ethereum blockchain a lot, and it's making the Ethereum blockchain do a lot of work, the charges for all of that work are just going to be incredibly expensive. So here's another example. Let's say a lot of new applications come in, and they're all going to be using the Ethereum blockchain to do whatever work they need to do. So the Ethereum blockchain is under load, it's under a lot of load. The gas prices for all these computations goes up, and all of a sudden this app that you've created is no longer viable because the charges are so high to interact with the Ethereum blockchain. It's pretty much completely destroyed your app. No one can use it anymore. It's no longer financially a viable option. And there you're left with an application that you've spent all this money creating. You've raised a huge amount of money in your ICO. You've developed this amazing application that maybe worked in the early days. But as cryptocurrency has become more widely adopted and more startups are using the Ethereum blockchain to create their applications, your application is completely not viable anymore, and it's been killed dead. Not to mention, if the Ethereum developers decide to steer in a new direction, which is contrary to what your app needs the Ethereum blockchain to do, it might completely change the requirements of using the Ethereum blockchain. So there are many ways that you might be left stuck in between a rock and a hard place when you're using the Ethereum blockchain. Now, let me just say this, because I don't hate Ethereum and I don't hate Ethereum smart contracts. I think they're both a great technology, and really they were the first of their kind. So they're not going to be completely perfect. And there are great applications which smart contracts lend themselves very well to. But this is the important thing, okay? A lot of startups in the cryptocurrency space are using smart contracts inappropriately. And what they need to realize is that they are at risk of not being as scalable as they might want to be, and they're also at risk of having to bend to the will of whatever Ethereum is going to do next. You know, who knows what is going to happen to Ethereum next year? Who knows if Ethereum is even going to be around next year? Okay, some other smart contract platform that does everything better might come out, and Ethereum It might die, it might slow down because not many people are mining it. It might completely change if the developers want to do something, wild and crazy with it. We really don't know. So it is wildly inappropriate to, in my opinion, to base your entire startup and your entire project on top of a blockchain that you really don't have that much control over. You don't know what it's going to do tomorrow. You don't know if it's going to explode. You don't know if it's going to get hacked. And that is a huge risk for all of these new startup projects that have raised in the orders of tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars. So, what is the solution? How can we avoid these potential risks in our startups? And how should we look out for startups that might be coming up against these sorts of risks? So the simple answer would be this, but it's not really a very simple solution to implement. And that would be if you're a startup that's really serious about your technology and you're really serious about making something that's going to be scalable to what you want to do and completely under your control, is make your own blockchain. There's a lot of open source blockchains out there that you can just fork from GitHub and start working on them straight away. Okay, and if you run into problems, it's your responsibility to fix those problems, and you will have complete power to do so because you will be the developers. Okay, but it's obviously a lot more difficult than copy pasting a smart contract off the Ethereum wiki, and that's why a lot of these new startups are doing that. There are a lot of startups out there that don't have any technical expertise. They don't have the will to get technical expertise. These expertise aren't easy to find. This is all really new technology. So the easiest thing to do is go on the Ethereum wiki and copy paste an Ethereum smart contract. And as an investor, you're going to their website, you're reading their white paper, and it all looks very pretty. It's all styled very well, but it's all vaporware. And a lot of these guys don't have the technical expertise to even realize that what they're making is an incredibly risky project, depending on what Ethereum will do next. So as an investor, I would really encourage you to go with projects that are making their own technology from the ground up. Now, obviously, there are some great Ethereum projects that are using Ethereum smart contracts. I'm not saying that there aren't, but there are so many ICOs out there where you really need to look into the team and what are their technical expertise, what innovation have they brought to the space. And if you can't find anything tangible, then I would say they're definitely at risk of being one of these startups that could potentially go horribly wrong. So this has been my warning about Ethereum smart contracts and what you need to look out for in these ICOs that you're investing in. Don't let them fool you with a beautifully styled white paper and a beautifully styled website. They need to prove to you that they have the technical expertise to implement something with innovation and not just copy paste some smart contract off Wikipedia. And if you'd like to check out a project that doesn't use Ethereum smart contracts whatsoever, check out my cryptocurrency Veggiecoin. We help animals in need with our mining, so if you'd like to do that, get the mining software and start mining for animals that need us. Thank you very much.